also identify a full list of all the programmes coming forward. So as members and the general public can see where the spend will be and what it's actually going to deliver. I note that there's business energy assessment service of 15 million. I think all these pots incorporated, but there needs to be an equitable share. And also, again, with the theme of today is that local delivery is key for us, so we need to be at the forefront of the decision making process, and the outcomes for me is really important. But it has to be equitable as well. I don't want, you know, whoever sheds the loudest, probably more bird myself, gets a bigger share. It needs to do what it actually says, and that's really about the future growth and where the potential for investment moving forward to get that bang for our buck. But I'm happy to do it.
I thought you might be Councillor Dinkins, reference to local businesses, and I know that's a point you've made before. Gary?
Right. There's reference in here to supporting 210 businesses that presumably you've already identified. Can you just ask a little bit about the process of how businesses tap into you and find you? Presumably you're working with the Met, as you say, to identify businesses, but how do they find you and identify what support is available?
So just to apply to Councillor Simpkins' point, and which I think starts to answer some people's questions as well. We are very reliant on the business support ecosystem as delivered by our local authorities to refer into this programme. And that's the principle which business support in the West Midlands has been designed on, which endorsed. So we're actually, whilst the equity point is full and valid, we're actually very reliant on local authority officers to bring these sort of companies into these programmes. We've also, as part of the commission, actually task the organisations that win these commissions to be proactive with that. So it's not just reactive, waiting for companies to come forward. It's actually proactive because, for example, it's very hard to spot a future scale-up company. It's like here, we've all invested in them. So actually taking that expertise in part. So I suppose that's an approach to approach to have the Councillor Simpkins challenge. Very reliant on local authorities for the more reactive side of it.
Councillor Hughes?
That's what the spread is across the 7 Mets.
We haven't specifically targeted a specific spread across the 7 Mets. The intent is that it will go out as 3 lots, one for Black Country, one for Birmingham Solid, and one for Coventry. The experience of the decarbonisation and investor witness programme, which follows a similar model, is that actually gets you better local on the ground expertise. So what we will do is we will look at the business base across the geography, and we will target whoever wins that to keep those proportions as close as possible to the business base.
Councillor Boyle?
Yeah, all it was just to confirm that it follows on from the comments really, that actually particularly City Council officers work with the business support officer group in order to make sure that the projects are designed accordingly, and that fits in with the knowledge of the local area and should work. That's a yes, that's good, thank you.
Okay, so is everybody now ready to move to approval of the 3.25 million from the Legacy Fund to commission business support schemes which help achieve the objectives of the West Midlands Plan Corporation?
Yep.
Okay. Right, item 15 then, jobs and skills wellbeing business justification case. We've got Lisa Hamilton.
So the business justification case that we've...
Sorry, Lisa, we're taking 15 and 16 together, aren't we? So for members to be aware, 15 and 16 together.
Yeah, just to summarise, within the Economy Skills Communities team, we have a programme level business case. Through the programme level business case that you've got sort of change request appended to, we set out all the respective funding streams for transparency that sit within the skills programmes. So effectively approval sought today on the 5.75 Commonwealth Games Skills funding would then effectively enable us to add that value to the programme business case, which is the 2 items. The BJC that's set out today for the skills, job skills and wellbeing actually has sought to incorporate 4.85 that was set out for skills, along with the 0.9 for mental health. The approach with respect to this funding is actually that it will be back-to-back grant funded to our local authority partners on an equal basis. That's across our 7 Met CAs. Predominantly, we've been working closely with our local authorities. A lot of this funding through Commonwealth Games is needed to provide employment support. This comes with a big sort of gap that we're seeing in the region with the European fundings ending. A lot of those across our local areas are due to end Q3, Q4 this financial year. The local authorities, through our skills officer group, have developed a list of sort of 6 projects that they would like to align this funding to. A key piece of work that we've done in parallel is also looking at how we can maximise other funding programmes, so streams. So within the CA, which have also been devolved to local authorities, we have UK SPF, which has the communities and skills elements to it. And we've also got programmes such as Multiply, which is basic numeracy support. So working with local authorities, we've identified where there are some key gaps that are needed to underpin the employment support, to provide a wider learner journey, to do the onward progression for learners then through respective funds. And you'll see set out on page 110, the local authorities have actually responded in respect of the projects that they wish to deliver against. So it wasn't mandated that they must deliver against all of those 6. It's very much based on local needs and priorities. And therefore, each of the LAs have responded to advise us which of those projects they wish to use the funding for. So it's very much built from a sort of bottom-up approach and very much aligned across SPF and other funding streams, recognising the challenges our local authority partners are also facing in respect of monitoring and reporting. For SPF, we have developed sort of an Excel spreadsheet, which we're moving to an online portal, and we'll be integrating this monitoring into that to just try to help simplify it for partners as part of that ongoing monitoring and reporting process. There is some funding that has been taken from this. We will relook at it in respect of overarching administrative costs. That essentially is around a sort of monitoring and evaluation officer, but those costs are to be shared across programmes, including oversight of the high growth programme and that contract management. So, and also that alignment then with the new careers and enterprise contracts that will commence. So we're trying to also reduce those costs in respect of evaluation. The Skills Directorate will be providing that in kind. So we're going to be commissioning a 5-year evaluation. It will incorporate SPF as well as the Commonwealth Games element, but will obviously go on a lot longer than the legacy. So we'll be able to do a sort of stock take of this position, but we'll be actually going beyond that for the full 5-year.
Okay, any questions on both of those agenda items then? Councillor Simpkins?
What it needs to be targeted in the people in most need. And that then it gives us an opportunity to lift our local authority and also lift the wider combined authority delivery. And that can only be done by working hand in hand with local authorities, especially on some of the adult education stuff, and people who really struggle to access that, the skill sets, so as they can again talk about and take up the jobs that we're trying to provide in the future, especially well-paid jobs. So we want to lift everybody up into that higher skills bracket, and also for them to become important, paying back into local authorities as citizens. So it's really important that you do work hand in hand with local authority.
And I believe that's what you're doing and you're planning to do. We had a lot involved. Yeah. Okay, so that's agreed, that's a given. Okay, so then the recommendations at page 107 and 115, everybody happy to agree the approval of the funding? Yep. Okay, and the delegations as well? Yep, okay, those are complete. So we're moving now to agenda item 17, Legacy Trailblazer Programme Business Justification. No, back to Bethan. It's Ed and Bethan, but back to Bethan.
Thank you. So yeah, this is in respect of the Legacy Trailblazers programme. So this programme is probably the most closely aligned to the original Commonwealth Games Legacy Plan. Members may be aware that there was a Legacy Plan published in both 2021 and then an updated version published in summer of 2022. So this programme is effectively the continuation of a number of those projects that sit within the original Games Legacy Plan. So following the Games itself in July-August of 2022, a feasibility assessment was completed of the full legacy plan, of which there were 11 work streams at the time, to assess which of them had legs for continuation, or indeed perhaps didn't have an alternative home that they could go to. And this was largely driven by the fact that the organising committee itself was of course time bound to February, March of 2023 and has now ceased. So following that feasibility assessment, there were 5 projects that were specifically identified as having the potential to continue. I'm going to list them out and then I'm going to briefly give you a couple of sentences on each, but I'm happy to take questions on any detail of any of the individual projects. So number 1 was volunteering, critical mass, bring the power, Gen 22 and social value stroke the United by Birmingham community branding. So hopefully some of those ring a bell. So just to give you a quick canter through what each of those are. So number 1 on the volunteering legacy, some of you may have seen recently that the volunteer legacy portal was just launched, lots of exciting work going on in that space, but ultimately that's about continuing the impact that the Commonwealth Collective has had and using that as an asset to potentially work as part of major events for Birmingham and the region moving forward. Number 2 is critical mass. This is about supporting young people with complex needs or disabilities, including neurodivergency, to access performance opportunities and also connected to physical activity and wellbeing that we talked about earlier. Most notably, critical mass will be part of the performance for the anniversary festival that is taking place this coming July and August. And I would just note to members that we have worked at risk on a total cost of £325,000 to enable that to happen because of the tightness of timescales. That is noted in the report, but again, happy to take any questions on the detail of that work. Number 3, bring the power. This is a continuation of the school's youth activity. This is really important. We're really passionate about it because it is the only detailed aspect of the overarching 70 million legacy fund that will continue to work directly with primary school children. The age range does run from 5 to 25, but importantly, this is that kind of younger schools element as well. Number 4 was Gen 22, again, still a youth tone to it, but was around social action, connects nicely in with the volunteering piece. This is about empowering young people aged 16 to 24 to identify areas of need within their own communities and their own geographies, identify potential solutions, and then take the lead in actually doing that. So member mentioned earlier the importance of youth engagement and youth consultation design. This is deliberately designed in that way to make sure we're doing that. And again, consulted on as part of the Young Combined Authority. And then the 5th one is social value and a continuation of the United by Birmingham community brand. There were 140 community organisations from across the region that engaged with the Games and were given access to that community branding. The intention is for that membership to triple over the coming 18 months from where we currently are. And it's around trying to connect those community organisations better with the private sector. So there's some quite nice crossovers for some of the work that the Growth Company are doing and also that Charles spoke to in the social economy piece as well. The delivery agency for this piece of work is proposed to be the official Games legacy charity United by 2022. The legacy charity has retained rights to use the IP assets and is consisted of all of the same staff that worked on the legacy plan and its delivery up to March of 2023. So that organisation is proposed to continue this work. As part of their activity at risk between
March and present, they have done a number of bits to confirm that the work that was done as part of that feasibility study does still stand. So they did complete a meta-analysis again of those 10 evaluation reports I referenced earlier, making sure that those 5 projects do actually address the areas of need that were brought through those evaluation reports. And also importantly, a significant outreach community consultation piece to test the ongoing relevance of those projects and even the ongoing relevance of the Commonwealth Games as a catalyst for those different communities to address areas of need and issues within their own spaces. The good news is all of that confirmed that these are still projects that are wanted and needed on a regional basis. And we've talked quite a bit about the ongoing role of local authorities. The United by Legacy charity has already begun the work to re-establish what was previously run as the Birmingham 22 Lead Officers Group. So that ran successfully for in excess of 2 years in the run up to the game. So that would be re-established. I believe they've already done quite a bit of consultation. Again, I'm happy to share the names of the individuals they've spoken with. And that would run on a monthly basis to ensure that local authorities have that connection to the work that they're doing and the ability to influence some of the decision making, particularly around grant awarding. We recognise that in this case, the United by charity is indeed a charity. They do not have significant alternative cash reserves, and therefore, in this case, the funding would need to be paid to them on an upfront basis. And again, we recognise the challenge that that presents from a financial risk management perspective. To mitigate that, the proposal is that the funding would be paid to them in advance, but only on a monthly basis. For reference, the average monthly cost of this award would be 210,000, so that would be the maximum exposure to the Combined Authority at any one time. And then Linda, along with other colleagues in finance, will closely monitor the performance from a financial perspective, seek evidence of actual delivery and spend. What I would say, hopefully that came across in the 5 projects that I talked through, this is a very optically present programme. It is very clear if things aren't happening, because we are talking about things like doing volunteering at the anniversary festival. If that doesn't happen, it will be very clear to the Combined Authority very quickly. But nonetheless, we will continue to monitor with close financial management. The other point to note from a legal perspective is, as I've talked about, we are proposing that this would be a direct funding award to the United by 22 Legacy charity. There are 2 legal options that have been explored for this. I just want to make members aware. They are both a supplier and a grant award option. We are continuing to work through the detail with the United by Charity, again subject to approval from this forum, but we have confirmed with our legal colleagues that both are legally compliant on the basis that that organisation has the rights to use the IP and the assets. There is not an alternative operator regionally that could provide these services. I'll pause there, Chair, and happy to take questions.
Questions, members? Everyone's happy with that? Obviously, you've had clear local authority involvement. I would personally just make the request, because you've emphasised SEND within the report. There will be, in each authority, there will be specific organisations that are connected to that group of youngsters. So I think they probably need to make that connection specifically in it. It's just a first. Okay. Right, if everybody's happy then to move to the recommendation. So we're approving then the 5 million proposal set out by the business justification case, and then approve the delegation of delivery of the Legacy Trailblazer programme to the official Commonwealth Games charity by 2022. Agreed?
Yeah. Sorry, my apologies. I'm going to have to go because I've got to get back to Coventry. But at the risk of upsetting everybody, the next 2 agenda items, I've got my support for what it's worth. Right, so.
Well, hang on then, let's because we're not going to be caught.
Oh, you do it quickly. That's why I raised it.
Right, nobody else is allowed to leave if you're leaving. So you're approving item 18 and 19. Okay, right, okay. So agenda item 18 then is going to be the Commonwealth Games Legacy Fund WMCA Culture Programme.
Yeah, that's me. There we go. Yep, thank you, Chair. So my name is Sala Bierman. I'm a Senior Policy Officer of Culture and the Strategic Lead for Culture and Heritage within the West Midlands Combined Authority. So today we are seeking approval of 4.1 million of investment for the Culture and Heritage pillar of the Commonwealth Games Legacy Enhancement Fund. This is obviously 100% revenue as with the other parts. On this one specifically, we've made a commitment to double devolve 1.3 million of this fund directly to the 7 constituent local authorities. And we'll come back to that on the mechanism on that. The delivery of the programme involves interventions linked to 40 themes derived from the Combined Authority's formally approved objectives for culture, as well as some of the key learnings from the Commonwealth Games Culture Programme, which was a 6 months, 12 million programme. And just to kind of elaborate on the point about local authority engagement, so we have a cultural officers group, which includes all the 7 constitutional authorities, as well as some other local authority members, and we've been working very closely with them. In addition, I have personally met with officers from each of the constituent local authorities to discuss specific needs within those local authority areas, as well as improve our understanding of specific needs, challenges and opportunities. All of this has informed the development of this programme. The overall aim here is also to look at kind of longer term benefits, so not just kind of 6 months of fund, but how could we derive this money so that it goes a little bit further. We've also looked at geography. So, for example, there's a bit of a crisis in culture and creative sector skills at the moment. Some of those challenges, perhaps it's not possible to solve those at local level. So they have to kind of take it up to regional and even national level. So it's kind of looking at systemic issues and opportunities. The aim is also to secure some more investment, and I'd like to draw attention to item 21, which already we've got some confirmed funding from British Council, which is confidential at the moment, but we're also aiming to increase any funding that we can get. And kind of working from that skills example, for example, it is also looking at how culture can better be embedded into existing other policy areas such as skills funding that already exist within the Combined Authority, which will ultimately benefit all the local authorities, that better alignment, because that investment is already there. And obviously this money will not duplicate anything that we already have. So those are the kind of overarching principles. There are essentially kind of 5 delivery areas, if you like. One is around creating these strategic pieces of work at regional level, which will improve our capacity and ability to secure more investment from the government going forward, so that we have strategic objectives and we can really work with our local authorities on that regard. Then there are kind of 4 kind of delivery areas. One is around culture engagement, which will include creative commissions. These will be double devolved to local authorities, and we will work very closely with those authorities to ensure those grants will be appropriate and meet the local needs. There will also be grants towards devolved grants towards civic pride, placemaking and culture infrastructure projects. So that's things like high streets and feasibility for capital projects, etc. The 4th pillar is around future-proofing our culture sector. So that is support specifically tailored for the culture sector. For example, there isn't tailored business support available in the region at the moment that would meet their needs. So that is addressing an identified gap. And then the final area is around globally connected West Midlands, so it is supporting the international elements that already happen through the Commonwealth Games, cultural festival and other activities. It is estimated that this is a rough estimate, but the 4.1 would create a 24 million in local economy, as well as 2.3 million indirect GVA. Social value is harder to measure at this point, but it's a return, culture return on social value can be up to 11 to 1. There is a number of different elements, some of which will be double devolved, as already mentioned. Some of those will be procured and some of those will be delivered directly through the Combined Authority. Now, in terms of, I know a resource has been kind of flagged in here earlier, so I just wanted to kind of mention that there will be some roles associated with this delivery, specifically a culture infrastructure development officer, a policy officer, grant officer, and a project and procurement officer. Now, the cost of those is 362,000 in total. The plan is that 2 of those roles, the grant officer and policy officer, will be secondments from Arts Council England. And this is we have already kind of negotiated, and they would be happy to do that, providing that we get approval here today, which would mean that we would be able to really quickly start delivering that money with these highly trained officers. And the other issue, so I worked myself at the Arts Council at senior role. Arts Council delivers about 70 million in grants per year in the West Midlands alone. So I have experience in managing really high level grant programs, and this is the resource we need as a minimum to be effective in delivery of this program. The culture infrastructure officer is to actually enhance any existing local authority resource. And we have already worked successfully in this way, for example, in the Black Country, where our work around the Black Country Culture Investment Proposal has already secured 3.7 million to Warsaw around the new Creative Industries Centre. So there's a kind of need for why we specifically need this resource to support the successful delivery of this programme. It is complex, we have to do it at speed, and very similar because we're working with communities, small arts organisers, etc. We need the time to be able to get to the outcomes that we want to fully maximise this investment and ensure good outcomes. So I will pause there, Chair, for any questions on this programme.
Members, questions? Councillor Simpkins?
Yeah, I understand the benefit it'll be, but really to be centred at Birmingham, and this and the next paper, agenda item, I just struggle to see what value added it will be for Wolverhampton, the wider Black Country. Now, do we work with the Combined Authority to capture as much of that growth that comes with the games as well? We saw very little in Wolverhampton. We had one day the cyclotron trials, the rest was all around Birmingham. So I'm not going to not vote for this, but I need for us to understand exactly how we can capture the cultural aspect with regards to Wolverhampton and the wider Black Country.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've already worked quite closely with Wolverhampton, and there's some great work happening around your event strategy in particular, which, you know, we can really work with you on this to enhance that. You've already made some investment to creative industries, for example, through the Screen School. So again, it's showing that this aligns with that investment and the hard work that's already taken place in Wolverhampton, and we can really enhance it rather than duplicate or take something out of it. And essentially, this is additional resource for you to improve those efficiencies and deliver more benefits, and that future investment as well in particular. And I'm already working with your colleagues actually in Wolverhampton looking at a culture development fund, so we're hoping to secure a successful application in the next 12 months.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, good to see culture and heritage on the agenda here. And also, if you can work with all the other authorities, that will be great. So are we ready to endorse the proposed allocation of 4.1 million to deliver the programme? Yep, agreed. Okay. Agreed. Item 19 then is the Birmingham Athletics European Championships 2026 full business case. So I know this is in 2 sections. So we'll be limited to the public section, or we can take it all in private.
And if I go, I've got another meeting to do.
Yep. So, Jonathan?
Yes, myself, Andy.
Yeah,
So,
Andy.
Andy Newman from Birmingham City Council. As was just alluded to, that the financials, given the commercial sensitivities, are captured within a separate document. Happy to try and deal with those as best we can within this respective forum, or take specific questions outside of.
Just, it's little bit unusual at point 1, the wording reaffirm the WMCA's board approval of 13.7 million. And so I just want to question why it's just that's the terminology.
I mean, I think at this
I
stage,
think it's already been agreed.
No, no, not at all. Certainly in the document I've got, it's approval of, just building on to approval from this group
Oh,
of
that's not me.
the business case.
Okay, it's just that it wasn't the wording in our report.
Yeah, no, same
Okay.
same as any of the other
So
cases. that we've
are there any questions at this point? Obviously, we are approving the 13.7 million grant funding, and then we will be able to also ask questions of private.
And I'm happy to obviously share more context and just give a very high level summary.
Yeah, and okay, and we're also delegating the terms of the agreement and management evaluation framework to the Executive Director of Economic Delivery, Skills and Communities in consultation with the WMCA Monitoring Officer and the Section 151 Officer to finalise with Birmingham City Council.
That's great.
Agreed. Okay. So item 20 then is now the exclusion of the press and public, that in accordance with section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following items of business as they involve the likely disclosure of sensitive information related to business affairs of any particular person, including or local authority holding that information. So we can turn everything off.